My granddaughter pushed me into the lake. For 2 minutes, I fought for my life, gasping and drowning. "Don't be so dramatic," she laughed, standing on the dock like nothing had happened. 2 weeks later, she found out what it feels like to sink alone. It had started like any other family weekend. My daughter Lauren had planned the whole thing. A reunion at the old lake house we'd kept in our family for 3 generations. She called it a chance to reconnect. Her voice had been cheery on the phone, like we were the kind of family that made pancakes together and laughed around campfires. "Hold on a moment before we move forward. Let us know where in the world you're watching from, and if you're loving these stories, don't forget to hit subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be absolutely mind-blowing." I said yes, because I wanted to believe that maybe this time they actually wanted me there. Maybe Lauren missed me. Maybe my granddaughter Brooke remembered the summers I spent teaching her how to swim, how to fish, how to paddle a canoe. Arrived on a Friday afternoon, suitcase in one hand and a pie I baked in the other. No one came out to greet me. The front door was cracked open. I stepped inside and heard voices in the kitchen, Lauren and Brooke laughing about something. I stood there for a second, waiting to be noticed. Brooke walked past me without saying a word, texting on her phone. Lauren gave me a quick glance, a tight smile, and said, "Hi, Mom, you can put your stuff in the guest room downstairs." That was it. No hug, no, "We're so glad you're here." The guest room downstairs was colder than I remembered. The bed was stripped. No fresh linens. I stood at the door for a moment, then walked back up and asked Lauren if there were any sheets. She was standing by the kitchen island, sipping wine. "There should be some in the hallway closet," she said without looking up. Brooke giggled behind her phone. I set up my bed quietly. That night, they all sat by the fire pit and I wasn't invited. I heard them out there. Brooke laughing loud. Lauren telling stories I couldn't quite make out. I stayed inside and made myself some tea. It was only the first night, I told myself. Maybe tomorrow would be better. The next morning, I woke early and made pancakes like I used to when Brooke was little, the kind with blueberries and cinnamon. I set them on the table with syrup and butter and waited. Brooke came down around 10, wearing a sports bra and leggings. She glanced at the pancakes, picked one up with her fingers and said, "These are dry," before tossing it in the trash. Lauren came down right after and asked if I had made coffee. When I said no, she rolled her eyes and muttered, "Of course not." I sat on the porch for most of the morning. I watched the lake, the birds, the clouds rolling over the water. I tried to pretend I was here by choice, that I wasn't just the old woman nobody wanted around. Later that afternoon, Brooke said she wanted to paddleboard. "Come on, Grandma," she said with a smirk. "Let's see if you can keep up." It was the first time she'd spoken to me, directly all weekend. We walked down to the dock. The sun was strong. The lake looked calm, but I could feel the wind picking up. Brooke handed me a paddleboard and said, "You go first." I stepped onto it, knees a little shaky, but I managed to steady myself. I smiled, proud. "Still got it," I said, half joking. Brooke stood behind me. I didn't hear her move. The push came fast, sudden, sharp against my back. I didn't have time to grab the edge. The water was colder than I expected. It hit my chest like a wall. I went under before I could scream. My arms thrashed instinctively. I kicked hard. My lungs burned. I surfaced once, gasping, disoriented, then slipped again. 2 minutes doesn't sound long until you're underwater. When I finally managed to pull myself toward the dock's edge, coughing and shaking, Brooke stood there, her phone in hand, filming. "Don't be so dramatic," she laughed. "You're fine." I pulled myself up onto the wood with what little strength I had. My arms were scraped. My heart was pounding. I sat there, dripping, stunned. "What the hell was that?" I asked her. She shrugged. "Relax. It was a joke." Later, I would replay that moment 100 times. The way she looked down at me. The way Lauren barely reacted when I told her what happened. "She's just being playful," Lauren said. "Don't start with your exaggerations, Mom." Exaggerations. I had bruises on my arms. My hip was sore for days. But all Lauren cared about was whether I'd embarrassed Brooke by making a scene. That night, at dinner, no one mentioned the lake incident. Lauren passed the salad like nothing had happened. Brooke laughed with her boyfriend on FaceTime. I barely touched my food. After they went to bed, I stood in the kitchen alone, staring at the cabinet where we used to keep the hot cocoa. It was empty, just like everything else. I started to see things more clearly after that. The way Lauren rolled her eyes when I spoke, how Brooke mocked everything I did, my clothes, my voice, even the way I walked. They used to love me, or maybe I had just believed they did. On Sunday, as I packed my bag, Brooke said, "You leaving already?" I looked at her, really looked at her. "Yes," I said. "I think I've overstayed my welcome." She smirked. "Suit yourself." Lauren didn't walk me to the door. No hug goodbye, just a distracted drive safe from the couch. I sat in my car for a long time before I turned the key. I stared at the rearview mirror, the lake just visible through the trees. I couldn't stop, shaking. It wasn't just what happened in the water. It was what happened after. The silence, the dismissal. The realization that I was alone even in a house full of family. I told myself I'd let it go, that maybe I was being sensitive, that I didn't want to make things worse, but I couldn't forget the way she pushed me, and I wasn't going to pretend anymore. That was the last weekend I let them treat me like I was invisible. I didn't know it yet, but something inside me had shifted. Quietly. Permanently. And 2 weeks later, Brooke would find out that I was done being quiet. When I got home, that Sunday night I sat in my car for a long time before going inside. My porch light was off, even though I always leave it on when I travel. I couldn't remember if I had forgotten it or if the bulb had gone out. Everything felt off. My bones ached in places that hadn't ached before, especially around my right shoulder and hip where I must have hit the dock. I didn't even bother unpacking. I just changed into my nightgown and sat in the living room in silence. The next morning, I woke up early and made a pot of coffee. I sat by the kitchen window with my mug in hand, staring at the bird feeder, but nothing came. Even the blue jays that usually pestered me stayed away. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't open the newspaper. I just sat there, trying to make sense of everything. Around 9:30, my phone rang. It was Lauren. I thought, for a brief second, that maybe she was calling to apologize. Maybe she had realized what Brooke did wasn't just a joke. Maybe she had looked at the bruise on my arm and felt some kind of guilt. "Hey, Mom," she said casually, like nothing happened. "Just wanted to check if you got home okay." "I did," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Good," she said. Then she laughed. "Brooke's already asking when we're doing another lake weekend." I didn't answer right away. "I'm not sure I'll be going back out there again," I said carefully. There was a pause. "Oh, come on, don't be like that." "Like what, Lauren?" She sighed. "You know what I mean. You're blowing this whole thing out of proportion. Brooke didn't mean anything by it." "She pushed me into the lake," I said. And then she laughed while I was choking on water. "She didn't know it was going to be that serious, Mom. You're the one who lost your balance." "I didn't lose anything." She pushed me. Another pause. "You're really going to make this into a big deal?" she said, and this time her tone was sharper. "It was a joke. She's a teenager." "She's 18, I said. "That's not a child." Lauren's voice got colder. "You've always been so dramatic. Honestly, this is exactly why we can't have nice things. You take everything so personally." I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. I sat with the phone in my lap, hands trembling, not from fear, just from anger, from disappointment. I had known it deep down, but hearing it confirmed like that, it hit differently. A few days passed, and the silence from both of them grew louder. No texts, no calls. I posted a photo of my backyard hydrangeas on Facebook, something I do every season. And for the first time in years, Lauren didn't leave a comment. Brooke unfollowed me. Not that I was surprised. I guess the woman who couldn't take a joke wasn't fun anymore. On Thursday, I went to the grocery store. I ran into Helen Thompson, a neighbor I've known for over 30 years. She asked how the lake trip went. It was eventful, I said, and left it at that. But she pressed. Lauren posted photos. Looked like such a beautiful weekend. Of course she had. I got home and opened my laptop. I hadn't checked their pages since I returned. Lauren had uploaded a full album titled Family Weekend at Blue Rock Lake. There were pictures of Brooke paddleboarding, laughing with friends, selfies by the dock. One photo had me in the background, walking back to the house, soaking wet. The caption read, "Grandma fell in again. Shark slippery docks." I stared at it. Again? That had never happened before. I clicked on the comments. "She's so cute, poor thing. Hope she didn't get hurt. LMAO classic grandma move." I didn't respond. I closed the laptop and sat there, in my quiet kitchen with my cup of tea, trying to ignore the knot forming in my chest. That night, I pulled out an old photo album, one of the thick ones with the plastic over the pages. There were pictures of me and Brooke when she was small, us in matching aprons, baking cookies. Her on my lap at Christmas, her arms around my neck. A drawing she made me in kindergarten that said, "Grandma is my best friend." I don't know when that changed. I don't know if it was sudden or if I just didn't notice it happening slowly. What I did know was that whatever bond we had, it was gone now. Replaced by sarcasm, distance, and cruelty, masked as humor. A week. Later, Lauren called again. This time she sounded different, defensive from the first word. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something kind of serious." I braced myself. "I think it's time we talked about your finances," she said. I blinked. "Excuse me?" "Well, it's just. I've been thinking. You live alone, and it's not safe. And Brooke and I were saying that maybe it's time to simplify things. Maybe downsize. We could help manage your accounts. Just until things settle." "I don't need help with my accounts, Lauren. It's not about need, it's about planning. Responsible planning. Brooke's going to college soon. She's interested in studying finance. It would be good experience for her." I stayed silent for a long moment. "Did Brooke tell you to say this?" I asked. Lauren didn't answer right away. "She's just trying to help," she said eventually. I let out a slow breath. "I want you to listen to me very carefully," I said. "My house, my accounts, my life, they are mine. You are not entitled to any part of them. And Brooke isn't going to practice her financial skills on me. That's not what this is." "Yes, it is," I said flatly. "And we're done here." I ended the call. The next morning, I drove to the bank. I changed my account authorizations. I updated the emergency contacts on my medical file. I met with my lawyer, Ms. Rivera, and asked her to review my will. I had already made one years ago, but it was time for a revision. Lauren and Brooke had been beneficiaries. Not anymore. Ms. Rivera didn't ask many questions. She just nodded and said, "You're not the first grandmother to walk in here this week with this kind of story." I signed the papers without shaking. 2 weeks had passed since the lake. 2 weeks since the push, and now Brooke was going to learn what it meant to be on her own. The silence from Lauren lasted 5 days. I didn't hear from Brooke either, though I didn't expect to. I spent most of that week going through old papers, making sure everything was in order. Bills, insurance, documents that hadn't been updated in years. I cleaned out my file cabinet, shredded a stack of old statements, and kept only what mattered. On Thursday afternoon, I called my lawyer again. Ms. Rivera had already processed the new will, removing Lauren and Brooke as beneficiaries. I asked her to send a certified copy to my house. She said it would be there by Monday. I wasn't nervous about what I had done. I was tired of being used, tired of being seen as something temporary, a backup. A wallet with memories. On Friday morning, I went to the post office and picked up a new P.O. box. I didn't want anything sent to the house without me knowing it first. I didn't tell anyone. That same afternoon, Lauren called. It was the first time she sounded calm in weeks. No accusations, no lectures, just a warm tone, like she was trying to pretend nothing had happened. "Hi, Mom. I was just wondering if we could stop by Sunday afternoon. Maybe bring lunch? Brooke said she wants to talk." Talk, that was the word. She used, not apologize, not make things right. Just talk. I told her I'd think about it. She didn't push. That night, I made a list of things I wanted to say. I didn't want to forget anything. I didn't trust myself to keep it all straight when the time came. I wrote it out by hand, about the push, about the jokes, about the way they both looked right through me, about how humiliating it was to scroll through a public post of me soaking wet with laughing emojis beneath it. When Sunday came, I almost canceled. But I didn't. I needed to see how they would act now that the money was off the table. They arrived just after noon. Lauren had picked up sandwiches from the same deli she always used when she wanted to look like she was making an effort. Brooke didn't look up when she walked in. She went straight to the kitchen, grabbed a water from the fridge, and sat at the table like it was her house. Lauren made small talk at first, asked about the garden, commented on how clean the living room was. I let her talk. I watched Brooke scrolling through her phone, chewing gum like she couldn't be bothered to look me in the eye. Finally, Lauren got to it. "So, Mom, I think we got off on the wrong foot, about the lake, about Brooke." I said nothing. "She was just being playful," Lauren continued. "It came out wrong, but she didn't mean to hurt you." I looked at Brooke. "Is that true?" She shrugged without looking up. "Sure." I didn't respond. I waited. Lauren cleared her throat. "Anyway, we just wanted to put that behind us and maybe move forward. We've been talking about things, and we think it would be good to simplify some of the logistics around your place." There it was again. "The bills, the mortgage," she went on. "You've been doing it all on your own for a long time. We could help manage that. Set up online access. Just in case, anything ever happens." Brooke smiled a little then, the kind of smile that's more smirk than warmth. I kept my face still. "I've already taken care of it," I said calmly. Lauren blinked. "What do you mean?" "I met with my lawyer. Everything's updated. I have a trust now, a power of attorney, medical directive, all current, everything's in order." Brooke stopped scrolling. Lauren tilted her head. "Who's your power of attorney?" "A friend," I said. "Someone who isn't part of this family." Brooke scoffed. "That's shady." "No," I replied. "What's shady is pretending to care about someone's well-being when you're actually interested in their assets." Lauren flushed. "Mom, that's not fair. We were just trying to help." I nodded slowly. "Of course, you're overreacting," Brooke muttered. I stood up and walked to the hallway. I came back with a manila envelope. Inside it was a copy of the Facebook post. I printed the photo, the one where I'm soaking wet, walking back toward the house, with my arms clenched at my sides, the caption under it, the comments. I laid it flat on the table. Neither of them said a word. "I didn't fall in," I said. "You pushed me, Brooke. I nearly passed out underwater. You laughed." Brooke opened her mouth, but I raised my hand. "You laughed," I said again, "and your mother defended you." Lauren looked away. "It was a bad joke." "No, it was cruelty. And the worst part is that you didn't even try to hide it. You made fun of me online. You told a story that wasn't yours to tell." Lauren's voice was low now. "Why are you showing us this?" "Because it matters," I said. "Because you want to pretend it didn't happen. But I remember every second of it. And I want you to know that I'm not confused. I'm not weak. And I'm not going to be the one who stays quiet anymore." They didn't finish their sandwiches. Brooke got up and left without saying goodbye. Lauren stayed a minute longer. She looked tired. "Smaller than I remembered." "I don't know what happened to us," she said. I looked at her. "I do." Then I walked her to the door. After they left, I poured myself some iced tea and sat on the back porch. The sun was lower now, and the wind had started to pick up. I could hear the neighbor's dog barking in the yard next door. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. I had said what I needed to say, and they had heard it. I didn't need anything more than that, but I knew deep down they weren't done yet. Lauren would find a new angle. Brooke would find a new tactic. They weren't used to hearing no from me and people like them. They don't take rejection quietly. Lauren didn't call the next day. Neither did Brooke. I thought they might try to reach out, maybe out of guilt, maybe to apologize, but instead, they went quiet. It wasn't the kind of silence that feels like peace. It was the kind that feels like waiting, like something was happening just out of sight. On Monday morning, I drove to Ms. Rivera's office again. I had been thinking all weekend about what else could go wrong. I trusted her. She had handled my affairs before, but I wanted to be sure. She met me in her office right at 9 a.m. Her hair pulled back, glasses perched low on her nose. I want to make sure everything we did last week is solid, I told her. I want it airtight. She nodded, already pulling up the files. Your trust is legally binding. The POA is filed with the state. You've removed Lauren and Brooke from all beneficiary roles. If they contest, they'll have to do it through Y. Court, and based on what you've documented and the updates we've made, it won't go far. I let out a slow breath. Good. You're not the only one going through this, she said. You'd be surprised how often this happens. Especially when older relatives live alone. I don't feel old, I told her. But I'm treated like I'm disposable. Ms. Rivera didn't flinch. That's because you're not giving them what they want. She handed me a fresh binder with labeled tabs. Deed, will, trust, medical directive, POA. Keep this somewhere. Safe. And keep a backup copy in your P.O. box. I nodded. Thank you. On my way home, I stopped at the grocery store. The cashier asked how I was doing. I smiled and said, fine, like people do when they don't feel like explaining. I picked up a rotisserie chicken, some fruit, and coffee filters. I wasn't eating much lately, but I figured I should try. That afternoon, I checked my mail and found a card from Lauren, just a plain white envelope with my name handwritten on the front. Inside was a folded sheet of paper. Mom, I'm sorry things have become so tense. I think we all said things we didn't mean. Brooke is still young. She didn't handle it well, but she's not a bad person. You've always been the strong one in the family. You've always been the anchor. We don't want to fight. We just want to move forward. Let's have dinner soon. Love, Lauren. There was no mention of the push. No mention of the Facebook post. No responsibility. Just soft language and vague blame spread evenly over everything, like butter hiding burnt toast. I didn't respond. The next day, I found out what they were really planning. It was Brooke who slipped up, though I doubt she realized it. She posted on her Instagram stories. A short clip, her and Lauren in a real estate office. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the caption read, Planning big things. Blessed Mirar's new chapter. I clicked through her profile. The same tone as always. Jokes, selfies, jokes at someone else's expense. But one post caught my eye, a photo of her holding a binder. I zoomed in. It said property transfer packet. My stomach turned. I closed my phone and sat in the living room in silence for a long time. Then I picked it back up and called Ms. Rivera. They're trying something, I told her. I don't know what yet, but they're not done. She didn't sound surprised. They'll test boundaries. Maybe they'll try to file a claim. Maybe they'll suggest mental incompetence. It happens. We've seen it before. Let's get ahead of it, I said. So we did. Over the next few days, I had an evaluation with a licensed geriatric specialist. The full test, cognitive, psychological, physical function. The doctor was thorough and kind. After it was done, she looked me in the eye and said, You're sharp, nothing to worry about. I requested the report in writing. Signed and notarized. I added it to my binder. Then I called an old friend, Elaine Miller. We'd met 30 years ago working at the library. She had retired early and moved to Oregon, but we kept in touch. She was smart, trustworthy, and had been through her own family mess years ago. "Elaine," I said, "I need a favor." 2 days later, I added her as my financial backup contact, medical emergency contact, and my POA fallback. "She's not even family," Lauren would say later, when she found out. Exactly. That Saturday, I got a knock on my door. It was Brooke. She was wearing tight jeans, a cropped sweatshirt, her phone in one hand. "Hi," she said, like she was popping by a neighbor's house for sugar. I didn't invite her in. I just stood in the doorway. She looked me over. "So, you're still mad?" "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm awake." She laughed once. "Okay, whatever. Look, I just came to say, I know we got off on the wrong foot, but I really don't want to be in a bad place with you." I said nothing. She continued. "It's just, things are kind of tight right now. I had to drop one of my classes because the payment didn't go through. You used to help with that kind of stuff. And I figured—" "No," I said. She blinked. "What?" "No," I repeated. "You figured wrong." She stared at me. "So you're seriously going to let me drop out of school over this?" "You pushed me into a lake," I said flatly. "Then you laughed. Then you posted it online. Then you tried to get control of my money. So yes, Brooke. Yes, I'm seriously going to let you deal with the consequences of your actions." She didn't say anything at first, just stood there stunned. Then she scoffed. "Wow, you're such a bitter old woman. That's why nobody wants you around." I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. I simply closed the door. I waited behind it, listening to her footsteps stomp down the path. Then I locked it. That night, I slept better than I had in months. And when I woke up the next morning, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. It was time to pull the last piece out from under them, the one they hadn't even considered. I didn't have to wait long after I closed the door on Brooke. By Monday morning, the fallout had begun. At 7:42 a.m., my phone rang. It was Lauren. I let it go to voicemail. At 7:47, she called again. By 8:03, I received a long text message, full of guilt, full of questions, full of fake concern. "Mom, what did you say to Brooke?" She came home in tears. "I don't know what's going on with you lately, but this is getting out of hand. You've changed. You're acting cold and mean. All she did was ask for help with school. You used to care. I don't even recognize you anymore." I stared at the screen for a full minute, before deleting it without replying. By noon, I had a message from the bursar's office at the college. Apparently, I had been listed as a financial reference for Brooke's tuition plan 2 semesters ago. I hadn't even known that. They must have added my name when I signed a holiday check. The message was polite but firm. "The cosigner has been removed. Student will be responsible for full tuition by end of week." I didn't respond to that either. That night, I opened my binder again. I flipped to the tab marked Assets. I reread every page. My house was protected. My trust had been funded. My will was finalized. My healthcare and power of attorney were locked in. There was only one thing left. I still had a checking account that Lauren had access to years ago when she was helping me after my surgery. I hadn't thought about it until recently because it had remained inactive, just a small amount left for emergencies. I logged in and saw the balance, and I saw the automatic payments, 3 of them, all listed as ACH payments to LKM Household Services. I had never authorized that. Lauren's initials. I closed the account immediately. Then I filed a fraud report. That was the moment I stopped feeling guilty. 3 days later, Lauren showed up at my house. She didn't knock, just walked right up to the porch and started talking through the screen door. "You filed a fraud complaint?" I stayed seated on the couch. I didn't move. "Yes," I said plainly. Her voice cracked. "You think I stole from you?" "I saw the withdrawals. I saw the name on the account. It wasn't a mistake, Lauren. I was going to talk to you." "About that?" "No, you weren't." She took a deep breath and looked around like she was checking to see if anyone was watching. "This is your idea of revenge?" "For the lake?" For a stupid accident that Brooke apologized for? She never apologized. She cried, Mom. Because she didn't get what she wanted, I said. Not because she regretted it. Lauren's eyes narrowed. You're really doing this, cutting us off. Watching your granddaughter suffer because of some bruised ego. I stood up slowly. My back hurt, but I didn't let it show. I gave you everything, I said. I paid for Brooke's camps, her therapy when she was 12, her first laptop, her car insurance. I helped with your mortgage when Mike left. I covered groceries when you lost your job during the pandemic. And not once, not one single time, did either of you say thank you? And now that I've said no, you think I'm the problem? Lauren didn't answer. Her mouth opened, then closed again. You took advantage of me, and I let it happen. That ends now. She took a step back. Fine. If that's how you want to play this, don't expect us to come running when you get sick. Don't expect Brooke to forgive you when she fails out of school. I'm not playing anything, I said. I'm just done being used. She turned and walked back to her car without another word. By the end of the week, I got another call. This one from the college itself. Brooke had been dropped from enrollment. Non-payment. She was no longer eligible for her on-campus housing either. I don't know if she moved in with Lauren or a friend, but she posted a vague message on social media that afternoon. Some people would rather see you drown than admit they're wrong. Lesson learned. People change. Stay sharp. No names, of course. But the comments filled in the blanks for her. Your grandma's always been like that? Wow, that's cold. Sending love, girl. You'll bounce back. And then one that surprised me. What really happened at the lake? No one replied. By the following Monday, I noticed something strange. My trash cans weren't returned to the side of the house after pickup. The paper was tossed at the far edge of the driveway. Minor things, but they didn't usually happen. Then, on Wednesday morning, I found something worse. The side of my garage door had been scratched. Deep, deliberate marks across the paint. A message carved into the wood panel. Old witch. I called the police. They filed a report, took pictures. They asked if I had any security cameras. I didn't, but that changed the next day. I had a technician install a set, front, back, and side. I didn't tell Lauren. I didn't tell anyone. That weekend, I caught them on camera. Brooke and a friend, maybe from school, I didn't recognize the other girl, walking past the house late at night, laughing. One of them tossed an empty soda can into my yard. That was enough. Sent the footage to Ms. Rivera. She drafted a cease and desist letter that same afternoon. Harassment, trespassing, property damage, and she sent it certified, with a copy to the local station. I didn't expect them to respond well, but I was past. Caring. The next day, I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. You really think this makes you strong? You're pathetic. Enjoy your empty house. Enjoy being alone. You'll die alone, and no one will come for you. I blocked the number. I sent the screenshot to Rivera. She added it to the file. That night, I made myself a small dinner, grilled cheese and tomato soup, and sat by the kitchen table, phone off, lights low, door locked. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that used to feel heavy. But that night, it felt different. Not empty. Just still. Because for the first time, I wasn't waiting for anyone to change. I had already changed everything that mattered, and the storm they thought they could bring? It had already passed. I thought things would settle after the cease and desist letter, but nothing involving Lauren and Brooke ever ends that neatly. The vandalism stopped, at least. No more scratches, no more trash in the yard, no more anonymous messages. It went quiet again, but I knew them too well to think it was over. They weren't quiet because they gave up. They were quiet because they were regrouping. It was Brooke who made the next move. I was in the backyard clipping some dry branches off the rose bushes when I heard the sound of a car pulling into my driveway. I walked around the side of the house slowly, pruners still in hand. Brooke was standing next to a white compact car with the engine still running. She had a manila envelope in her arms and sunglasses pushed up on her head. Her face looked tired, pale, no makeup, no phone in her hand for once. "I just need 2 minutes," she said. I didn't say anything. I didn't invite her in. She held out the envelope. "This is everything I owe. The tuition balance. The rent I didn't pay when you covered for me. All of it. With dates and totals." I looked at it, then at her. She forced a small smile. "I know I won't pay it all at once, but I'm going to pay you back. Bit by bit." I didn't move. "Is this an apology?" She paused. "It's a start." I took the envelope from her hand and set it on the bench by the porch. I didn't open it. "You won't get another dime from me," I said. "That's not punishment. That's a boundary. There's a difference." She nodded slowly. "I know," she said. "I don't hate you, Brooke," I added. "But I don't trust you, and I don't owe you another opportunity to hurt me." She blinked fast, then looked down at her feet. "I get it." I didn't say anything else. She walked back to her car and drove off. I didn't open the envelope until later that night. It was neat, handwritten, each page listed with the amounts, the approximate dates, and what the money had gone to. At the bottom of the last page, she had signed her name. That was all. There wasn't a check. There wasn't a promise to change. Just the facts. I placed it in a folder and filed it in the cabinet under Brooke Closed. A few days later, Lauren called. I didn't answer. The message was short. "Tired. I know we burned a bridge. I know we probably don't deserve another chance. But I wanted you to know. Brooke is trying. She got a part-time job. She's registered for community college. It's not much, but it's a start. If you don't want to talk, that's okay. I get it. I just thought you should know." I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. For the first time, she hadn't asked for anything. That weekend, I met with Ms. Rivera one last time. She brought everything in a single folder: final copies of my estate plan, trust documents, the certified medical assessments, and the logs from the harassment incident. I signed the final page and slid the pen across the desk. "You've been thorough," she said. "I had to be." She closed the folder gently. "You're protected. No one can touch anything unless you allow it." "Good." Before I left, she asked, "Do you want to add them back at some point, Lauren? Brooke?" "No," I said. "This isn't revenge. This is clarity. I'm just done putting my name next to people who keep trying to erase me." She nodded. "That makes sense." And it did. The following week, I received a letter in the mail. It wasn't from Lauren or Brooke. It was from the college. They were launching an investigation into misuse of financial sponsorships and looking into whether a fraud claim should proceed. Apparently, Brooke had used my name on her financial paperwork without formal permission. They had traced it back and flagged it after my complaint. I didn't press charges. I sent a letter saying I declined to pursue action. I didn't want her destroyed. I just wanted her to stop thinking I was an easy target. A month passed. The weather shifted. Cooler mornings, earlier sunsets. One Sunday, I drove out to the lake. Hadn't been back since that weekend. The road hadn't changed. Long stretches of pine trees, silence between the bends. I parked near the same lot we always used and walked the trail down to the dock. It was empty. The water was still. I stood at the edge, where the wood darkened with age, where the algae gathered in quiet corners. This was the spot. This was where I had been pushed. I stepped out onto the dock and sat down slowly. My knees cracked a little, but I didn't care. I slipped off my shoes and let my feet hang over the edge. I stayed there a long time, not thinking, not reliving, just sitting. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just breathed. Because sometimes surviving isn't loud. Sometimes it's just continuing, Few days later, I invited Elaine over. We had tea on the back porch and talked about her vegetable garden, her cat who keeps chewing cords, and a neighbor who tried to flirt with her during bingo night. When she asked me about Lauren and Brooke, I told her the truth. They're quiet. "I'm not expecting anything else," she nodded. "Peaceful?" Finally. Before she left, she looked at me and said, "You're different." I had to be. Now my days are simple. I cook when I feel like it. I garden. I read. I sit on the porch. I go to the store when I want to. I sleep well. I laugh sometimes, even if no one's around. Lauren still calls every now and then. I still don't answer. Maybe one day I will. Maybe I won't. But it won't be because I feel obligated. It will be because I choose to. The last time I saw Brooke was the day she handed me the envelope. I don't know if she'll keep her word. I don't know if she's changed. But I do know that I'm no longer the woman waiting on her doorstep, hoping to be seen, hoping to be loved the right way. I gave them everything. They gave me silence and sarcasm. I gave them boundaries. They gave me distance. It's the fairest trade we've ever made, and I can live with that. Because the woman they tried to push under, she didn't sink. She rose, alone, quietly, and entirely on her own terms.